Hey YouTube, it's Nikki with the Farmhouse Full, and today's video is going to be 10 of my best tips to keep a clutter-free home. Now, first off, disclaimer, my home is not always clutter-free, but I really think that I've kind of gotten underfoot of being able to handle 10 people in a home without it exploding at the seams. I keep a pretty clutter-free home on most of the times, although a bomb can go off at any point and take it right back into like ground zero. But like I said, I've kind of developed these habits to be able to take a home with 10 people running and screaming and throwing toys everywhere to a home that's ready for company in less time than it used to take me to like wipe down a bathroom. So here's my tips on keeping a clutter-free home and then maintaining a clutter-free home. Number one is get rid of stuff. If you don't love it, use it, or need it, get rid of it. I'm by no means a minimalist in the sense of the new finagled way minimalism is, but I'm definitely a minimalist in the fact that I don't try to have anything that is not useful, needed, or that brings me great joy. I look around all the time and I am constantly purging. If it was just myself, it would be a little bit easier, but like I said, we have 10 people in our home, so stuff comes into our home times 10. So that purging is an ongoing thing. We are constantly taking trips to the thrift shop to drop stuff off or to the dumpster to dump things. It's just an ongoing battle of just purging things. In this day and age, I feel like we get way more than we did when I was growing up. When I was growing up and I went to a birthday party, I didn't come home with a gift. I brought a gift. Now it seems like our kids come home from stuff from church camp and Sunday school and, you know, other people's birthday parties. So you just always have to be mindful of how much stuff is coming in. We are constantly purging things that are brought into our homes. And I don't hold on to a lot of stuff for sentimental value. There's very few things that I hold on to things for sentimental value if I don't love it, use it, or need it. If it's something that was given to me in a gift and I really don't like it or don't use it, it is passed on and somebody else can be blessed by it. Tip number 2, everything has a home. This is something I got from my grandma years ago, and this is how she kept a 1,100 square foot house with 5 kids, plus they always had their friends over, and now 27 or 8 grandkids and I think 12 or 13 great grandkids, is that there's always a home for something. And everybody in the house should know where that home is. For instance, if you purchase something and you bring it home, it needs to have a permanent place in your home that it can be brought back to when you pick up. Our kids know the homes of their things, I know the homes of my things, and pretty much the stuff that we use communally in our home, everybody knows the spot for it. That way, if it's left out, I can say put that away, and there's a legitimate spot in our house made for that item. Tip number 3 has to do with storing and organizing what you already have. Definitely utilize vertical storage in your home. And what I mean by that is hooks, shelves, wall spaces. They can all be used to store things. I'm a huge lover of hooks, the kind that you screw in, and also command hooks are my best friend. So for instance, instead of just shoving our broom in the corner, it has a hook it hangs on. Our dustpan and our foxtail broom to pick up piles also have hooks. Our bathrooms, our kids' bathrooms and our bathrooms and my older kids' bathrooms, instead of having to fold towels neatly and nicely and put them over a towel bar that will only hold 2 towels anyway, we have hooks. A 3-year-old can use a hook to put it away. Tip number 4 is to have systems. Have systems for everything that's rote and routine in your home. Laundry is a big one to have systems for. I essentially have the same laundry system that I have had for 5 or 6 years, and it still works beautifully and effortlessly. I will link that system up here. The only main difference we have in that system now is my older kids do their own laundry, so I'm not doing theirs. But have systems for mail, have systems for paperwork in, have systems for calendars, because when it becomes habits are one of those things that serve you indefinitely because you don't have to think about them. They're always the same. Also, make sure those habits are simple and make sure that you've thought about the best way to make them most efficient. So they need to be efficient and they need to be simple, because if they're not efficient, it doesn't make sense to do them. If they're not simple, you're not going to do them. Tip number 5 is have pickup times throughout the day. Now, if you are a homeschooler like I am, this is going to be key and crucial. If your kids are gone all day and you're gone all day at work, obviously you're not going to need pickup times in the middle of the day. Nobody's there. But you can have strategic times throughout your day that it's a cleanup time. So our cleanup times are usually after breakfast, after lunch, after school, which is usually before my husband comes home. So in the summer, it would be before he comes home. And then also after dinner and about bedtime. And I know that seems a lot, but if you keep it picked up on an ongoing basis for each of those times, none of them take more than 5 minutes max for everybody to take what's needed and to put it back in its place. Remember, everything has a home. Tip number 6 is going to be utilize the basket system. If you guys have not seen my basket system video, I will link that up here. But basically we have baskets, decorative baskets. Sometimes it's just a laundry hamper. Sometimes it's just a reusable grocery bag on a hook. But whatever you have places to put things until those pickup times. For instance, if I have something and it needs to go upstairs, I have an upstairs bucket, I will throw it in. We also have toy jail that encourages our kids to pick up their own things, but definitely utilize some kind of a basket system to contain the stuff before you put it away in those pickup times. Tip number 7 is gonna make you think that I am obsessed with baskets, and I'm not. But it's a beautiful way to keep things contained until you have time to pick them up. So the second basket tip that I have is that when you are cleaning a room, to vacuum it, to dust it, to get the kids to help you, use a laundry basket. And my rule with the laundry basket is I will throw it in the middle of the room, and if it takes more time for me to put it away than in the laundry basket, it goes in the laundry basket. Obviously, if I'm picking up a remote from a table and the basket it goes in is 2 feet from it, I'm gonna put it in the basket it goes in. But if it's something that goes on the bookshelf in another room or in one of the kids' rooms, I will throw it in the basket. And then normally what I usually do is whatever's in that basket, whoever it belongs to is responsible for putting it away, unless it's like an infant. But most of my kids are now at an age, save for Cyprus, they can pick up their own toys if they want them out of the basket and put them away. If they don't, refer to that 3 basket system, it goes into toy jail. So the next 3 tips are going to revolve around kids' toys because let's be honest, that's probably the main reason we as moms have cluttered homes. Kids' toys, they multiply like rabbits. They multiply quicker than Mike and I do. It's just crazy the way that kids' toys seem to completely overtake a home. Tip number 8 is going to be don't over-organize kids' stuff. Now this may seem completely counterproductive, but trust me here. This goes back to keeping systems simple. A child is not going to spend 2 hours every morning sorting every little thing that they have into different bins. We did this for a while in our basement playroom. I was miserable because our kids would throw things in bins they didn't belong, and then we'd have everything messed up. I would need to go downstairs and fix everything, and it just was not simple, okay? It needs to be simple. So basically what I have now is I will use actually dish pans, and I will separate toys somewhat. So you know, blocks go in ones or cars go in another, but I don't have a whole bunch of different bins. My older girls just have drawers that they throw everything into because it's easy. What do when they pick up their room? They roll out that drawer, they throw all their stuff into it, and they close it back up. Out of sight, they're not gonna organize it anyway. I don't care as long as the room is picked up, and everybody wins in that situation. So make sure you're keeping the organization of the kids' toys something that they can keep up with, so it's not completely on your plate to keep their toys organized. Tip number 9, don't buy toys with a million pieces. Now we usually follow this rule. We do make an exception here and there for Legos, but things that I cannot stand are like Shopkins or Barbie toys that have a million different pieces. Because number 1, my kids never play with those little pieces. Maybe your kids do. Mine tend to just throw them all over the floor, and then they get vacuumed up, or Cyprus gets a hold of them and tries to put them in his mouth, and it just drives me crazy. I'm constantly picking them up. And so we just started to do away with toys that had a lot of little tiny parts and millions of them. So we have kind of pared our toys down to certain categories of toys. And for instance, if the doll came with a million different accessories, we would keep maybe a pacifier and like some clothes for the doll, but then all the rest of it we would just donate out. So make sure that you're keeping your kids' toys something where it's not a ton of little pieces that you're keeping up with. And my final tip has to do with the kinds of toys that you are giving your kids. Don't duplicate toys. How many dolls does one person need? How many sets of blocks does one person need? How many Legos does one person need? How many cars, Matchbox cars, does one little kid need? So we tend to keep certain types of toys, and let's be honest, I feel like all toys are just a variation of blocks, building things. Dolls are action figures, cars or things with wheels, and then sports stuff. I feel like there's not a lot of variety other than those. So we've just kind of pared it down to have one type of toy in each one of those. We do have a dress up bin as well, but our toys are very minimal here. I will do a completely separate video on where our toys are stored because I get asked that all the time. I will do a separate video on that, but just keep the toys to a manageable amount, because when it's unmanageable, nobody's gonna play with them anyway because you can't find them under the clutter. And two, it's just overwhelming. Sensory overload, especially for me and my ADHD mind and my children that have minds that are similar to mine. It's just too much, too many choices. So we like to keep our toys and what we have here at the house to a minimum. So those are my top 10 tips to keep a clutter-free home with kids. I'd love for you guys to put your tips down in the comments below. And if you have not already, think about subscribing to this channel. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up so that I know this is something you enjoy watching. And I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, guys.